Well, thank you all for being here. So I'm Holli Ehrlich. I am the other half of Canna Pop-Up, and I am so grateful because these pop talks are made possible by BCB Bank. And I want you to know that they were founded in November 2000 with one branch in Bayonne, and Robert and I lived for our first year of marriage in Bayonne, and we have a very special, it'll always have a special place in my heart. But interesting, after 10 years, BCB acquired Pamrapo Savings Bank, and I was going through my things, and it's like crazy, but I came across, some of you in the room will remember these passbooks. This is a savings passbook. This is a Pamrapo Savings Bank passbook, okay? So I thought that that would be a fun homage, throwback to the bank. They then, after they acquired Pamrapo, they acquired Allegiance Community Bank in South Orange, neighboring town. They have 30 locations in Bergen, Essex, Hudson, Middlesex, Monmouth, Morris, Union counties, in New York and Nassau County, which is where I grew up after I was in Brooklyn. I grew up in Long Island. And they're also in Richmond County, which is Staten Island. Can you put that? Thank you. And I just want to tell you a little bit about BCB, because not only are they servicing the CBD and cannabis medicine industry, they pride itself on paying it forward. They are a true community bank that gives back to the neighborhoods it serves. It is this philosophy that has made BCB Bank the successful institution it is today. And they do support community. They're supporting this event tonight. So thank you so much to BCB. Now my next thank yous are to these four amazing, beautiful women who are trailblazers in the industry. I'm so grateful that I've met them this past year plus being in this industry. To my left is Tara Misu Sargente, and she is with the New Jersey Cannabis Business Association and also the first edibles baker, right, in New Jersey, right, and it's Blazing Bakery. We have Jenny Worringer, scientist. We have Jess Gonzalez from, say the three, what law firm? She's the lawyer in the house. Is it on?
I'm not sure. How does it go? Hello?
Yeah.
Here. Yeah, Moyano Gonzalez and Associates, MGA Law for short.
And we have Jackie Cornell with 1906, formerly with the New Jersey Department of Health. So with no further ado, so all questions, like we said, we're going to answer more on the online forum, but most of them can hang around, post these talks, and are happy to answer more of your questions, because we know there's a lot of question marks in this space in general. So, question number 1 goes to all of them. Describe your role in the cannabis industry.
Okay. As you stated, I started the first edibles company in New Jersey in 2009. I started Blazing Bakery. It was the first brownie mix to specifically create cannabis edibles, and that has been over 1,000 stores. It was picked up by Spencer Gifts in 2014. And since then, I've been creating CBD products for 4 or 5 years now, and I'm taking the intellectual property from that, and I'm transitioning now to apply for a license to make THC edibles in the state. Aside from that, I work with the New Jersey Canna Business Association. We are the oldest and largest cannabis trade organization in the state. We have over 800 members and growing, and I was heavily involved with writing our current medical marijuana bill.
Jenny.
I'm Jenny. I am a scientist and consultant. I have been in pharmaceutical manufacturing for most of my career. Most of what I've been doing is injectable medicine sold globally, a lot of oncology, fertility treatments, things like that. And over the past few years, I've transitioned into consulting with my experience into hemp and cannabis, ensuring patient safety, and that states and all the states and federal government are really considering that when, growing these programs.
And Jess Gonzalez. So I'm the co-founding partner of Moyano Gonzalez and Associates, MGA for short. So we are New Jersey's first Latina-owned cannabis business law firm with a special focus on cannabis. And currently about 90% of our clients are either in cannabis, hemp, CBD, ranging from startup companies to medium-sized companies. So we help from anywhere from the beginning stages of your company all the way through, and if you're applying for an application, at compliance and beyond.
And I'm Jackie Cornell. I'm with 1906. I'm our Chief of Policy and Health Innovations. Prior to joining, as was mentioned, I was at the New Jersey Department of Health. I was Deputy Commissioner for the state, and one of the many programs I oversaw was the medicinal marijuana program under Governor Murphy, so much of the expansion that happened was under my watch, and I'm a public health expert by and large. Spent most of my career doing that work, as well as working for several elected officials in government roles.
So the first question, second question. Thank you. Welcome, and thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy lives, all of you and all of you. It can get a bit confusing with state and federal nuances when it comes to cannabis law. With ongoing debates concerning cannabis legislation, Jess, you can answer this first. What are the pros and cons of advancing adult use legalization?
Sure, so I'll start with the pros first, given that I am a cannabis attorney. So there are a lot of positive consequences that will come as a result of legalization. So one of them, first and foremost, is rectifying the effect that the criminalization of cannabis had on certain demographics, specifically people of color, and to basically, help repair their lives as they were affected by it. And so this will basically lead to expungements, and expungements will allow folks to have a better opportunity both with education, housing, employment, and so forth. There are many positives, but I'll just list about like a couple right now. But there's also going to be the tax revenue that's going to be derived from cannabis sales at the moment. So speaking specifically to New Jersey, as we only have a medicinal program, we haven't legalized for adult use yet, but all of the tax revenue that will be derived from cannabis sales will go specifically towards substance abuse disorders. So there is a lot of benefit, but if we were to go for full adult use, then a lot of these municipalities would be able to obtain a lot of tax revenue from it. In the last adult use bill that is now dead, it had a certain percentage of what the municipalities would each be able to take, depending on the kind of operations that they would allow within their municipalities. But a lot of this tax money could go to a lot of municipal problems that have to deal with, economic development, education, and basically just reinvesting the funds into the community as well. Another is going to be job creation. So actually, as of now, there's about 200,000 jobs in the U.S. That are full-time cannabis-related jobs, and it's reported that in the past year, 65,000 jobs were added in 2018. And moving forward in the next year, New Frontier reported that there will be a 20% increase in jobs. So we're looking at about 1.1 million full-time jobs in cannabis by 2025. So those are just some of the benefits that will be added.
Tara, would you say there are any cons?
Well, I just want to talk about a few more benefits and add something that I think is pretty exciting. So the adult use bill is not dead. We got an announcement this morning from Senator Sweeney that we are going to try to get it through. A ballot referendum is still the likely what's going to happen, but we're going to make one more push to get the adult use bill done by the end of the year. Now, what that means, just a couple more pros, 8,000 people have been arrested since that bill failed on March 25th of this year, and 88 people are arrested every single day. So one of the biggest pros is not only helping the people who've been harmed by the war on drugs, but stopping it immediately. And with that, the $60 million that was in the budget, how towns in Colorado opted out, and you see your municipalities opting out. And this is why you need to tell them we need this. Because 4 years later, Colorado Springs, they looked over and, oh, look, Denver has new roads and their schools are getting better. and that's what we need in New Jersey. So the only cons, I would say, and it has already been addressed in the legislation, is that sometimes when states rush in to adult use legalization, they neglect their medical patients, which is obviously a travesty. But we have built right into our legislation that you cannot sell for the purpose of recreational adult use marijuana until you have met patients' needs. So that should not affect New Jersey, and really there's only benefits, less opioid deaths, your property values, your home go up. It's amazing.
And just to add to that, so actually one thing that maybe people might not know is that New Jersey consistently has ranked in the top 3 of states with the highest cannabis arrests in the country. So New Jersey has a lot of work to do in rectifying a lot of those arrests, with Bergen County ranking as number 1 in New Jersey with the highest cannabis-related charges and arrests.
Jackie, this question is for you. There is still much to learn about the cannabis plant itself and how it manifests its health effects on the mind and body, both positive and negative. Patients and providers may lack treatment options, and policymakers may lack a full evidence base, which constitutes a public health problem. What are the barriers to cannabis research?
This is something that I'm really, really happy to talk about. I could probably talk about this for an hour if you let me, so I'll try to be
I'm not
brief.
going to let you, but we are going to continue that conversation, I promise, post this event.
But I think the biggest hurdle right now is that everybody wants more information, right? When you go into your doctor right now as a patient, they want to be able to give you something that they feel confident in what they're telling you to do. If you feel this way, take this. There's a huge hurdle that has to be met in the industry, and part of the reason why I joined 1906 is because we are in a controlled dose platform and format. So instead of just walking in and consuming a flower, right, usually through smoking it, we are really geared towards, right now, chocolates, and we're launching tablets in just a few short weeks. And so one of the things that I think is really important is we need to talk about how people are actually consuming it, flower versus consumption. There's a ton of education that needs to go into that because your body processes the cannabis completely differently if you're smoking it versus if you're ingesting it. But to your larger point, what are the hurdles? Right now, because cannabis is still a Schedule I drug, until there is change at the federal level, folks like the NIH, the National Institutes of Health, who most of the time those are like the big wigs when it comes to research, they're not touching this. Or if they are, they're doing it in really, really small ways. One of the things that we're committed to doing once we win the license here in New Jersey, hopefully, is spending 5% of our revenue in doing research. And we're currently doing a sleep study in Colorado where we're actively selling product because we realize that providers want to be able to tell people and patients want to be able to read a study that says, I feel this way, I did this, and this is what happened. It's a shame that industry has to fill this void and that the federal government won't, but until they do, I'm really excited to be a part of doing it here.
Oh, thank you. Okay, Jenny, your turn. With so much information coming out about the medical value of cannabis, why aren't medical professionals learning about the endocannabinoid system, or the ECS, and benefits of whole plant medicine?
That's kind of an easy one. It's just what Jackie said. There is a federal prohibition on this substance. So as a direct result, universities who teach our physicians and teach our physicians' assistants and teach our nurses are not offering the curriculum for an entire body system. So think about your digestive system, your circulatory system, your lymphatic system. I mean, I could go on. We got a whole bunch of them. The endocannabinoid system is a body system. And our physicians and our entire medical and research as well, our research scientists, no one is taught about this in their continuing education. And that, again, you use the word, it's a travesty. You know, we are prescribing in our country chemical medicines for things that we have the alternative of a natural plant-based to use first. And that's what we need to change, and that's why I know all 4 of 5 of us are sitting up here right now, trying to educate everyone in this room on that fact. We've been fed a lot of baloney through prohibition and our government feeding us what they want us to hear and supporting, unfortunately, medicine that damages our body systems. Everything that you put ingest in your body is processed through your liver. And that's including the medicine that you are taking, the solid pills that you take, you know, if you're taking Advil. I personally have had a ton of surgeries, and I would probably not be alive if it wasn't for modern medicine as far as my pain goes. And there is a point of using modern medicine. There absolutely is. There's some ailments that cannot be treated without it. But that's part of why what Jackie was talking about, we need to educate these people who are, we are tasked with taking care of us, treating us when we are sick. And if they don't know how to properly do that in the least harmful way to our bodies, that's something I know we need to change.
So can I?
Oh, yes. Oh, no. Go ahead.
So this just got announced like 2 weeks ago. It's really exciting. So Americans for Safe Access recently went through the process. It took several years. Anyone who's in the clinical space knows how long it takes to get a CME or a continuing medical education credit. These are the credits that doctors every year, every 2 years have to knock in a few hours. Lawyers do the same thing, right? They're professional credits. The ASA just went through the process with the American, the AMA, it's like alphabet soup, American Medical Association, to do curriculum on cannabis and on the endocannabinoid system. And so one of the things that we're doing is going to be, hopefully once we're here and active in New Jersey, is offering that to physicians and all providers that can recommend, because you're right, there's a huge gap, and it took years. I mean, they put it on their to-do list 10 years ago. And it took that long to go through all of the layers to get it up to snuff, to really hold up to a national accredited benchmark that cardiologists take classes from, that pulmonologists take classes from. And that is an incredibly huge step for the clinical space and for clinical providers. And so you can Google it, you can get that curriculum, and we're excited to be working with them to push that out, because more education is better outcomes for all patients.
Well, at Canna Pop-Up, we're going to continue with education. I just want you to all know the endocannabinoid system, okay, it's about receptors in your body, okay? So I'm an advocate. I am not someone who's enjoyed the plant most of my life, but I will tell you, I use since I've been introduced to CBD and cannabidiol, every single day. How many of you in this room use CBD every single day? Okay, so about 6 of you, okay? It offers me the calm, less stress, less anxiety. It helps with sleep. It helps with focus. It helps with inflammation. It helps with, it's considered a supplement. So, and that's how the FDA looks at it. There is a lot of question marks regarding that. So I'm going to ask Jackie and a few of you actually about what we should know with regards to CBD as a pharmaceutical, and organizations like the FDA that are policing the industry. Because, just putting in my own personal opinion, is that the FDA, if it's considered a supplement, and as long as it's labeled, you can't prevent, treat, cure, or diagnose something, right? We should all have democracy and choice. That's why I'm sitting here right now. That's why I've connected with such amazing people in this industry. Everybody who's in this room who I've met wants to do better and help people and impact people's lives. And, when it comes to the FDA, they're one of the orgs that are enforcing this. So, Jackie, why don't you start off with that?
Sure. So I'll start, and I have somewhat of an unpopular opinion on this, and you've heard me talk about this before. I believe in regulation. I think it's important, and I think that while the FDA can get sort of a bad rap for being too conservative, and there's some credit to that, I do think that we as a country and individual states, regulation is good, right? You want to know what you're consuming. You want to know that it's safe. And you as a consumer should be able to make the decisions that you want to make about what you want to put in your body. And I use the Dorito model. When I pick up a full bag of Doritos, I know how many calories, how much fat, how much sodium, what is in that bag of Doritos. I choose how much I want to consume. So if you're an individual who is striving for a high THC experience, the government shouldn't tell you you can or you can't have it, but you should know exactly what you're consuming. And I think that for me, I come at it from a place of safety and quality, right? Consumers should be able to consume what they choose to do, but you should know what you're getting when you ingest a product.
Can I step in there? The problem is the FDA doesn't want us to consume it. Well, that's really the minefield, if I could step on that for a moment, is when you say it's not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure. That's great. And you walk into a GNC, a vitamin shop, and that's on every bottle. What they want to take away from us is our freedom to actually make that decision for our own bodies, because they are saying since it was approved in Epidiolex, which is an FDA-approved drug that contains CBD, that no one else can use it now as a dietary supplement because it's FDA regulated. Well, to fight that, they have to say there was no marketing for it previously to when Epidiolex was approved, and that was 2018. And I bet you some people in this room were selling CBD before 2018. So that is entirely untrue. So they just had Curaleaf, they have 42 dispensaries across America. They had them pull all their CBD products. Not for the content of what was in it, but for the marketing claims. And that's fine, and we can do a dance of what the marketing claims on CBD could be, because you could always say, has been proven to. You don't have to state black and white. But they want to make it so we can't ingest CBD. And that's a travesty. I mean, CBD gummies were the #2 searched food term of 2018 behind unicorn cakes.
So,
Yeah, I mean, coming from your, FDA expert, I've been working under the FDA my entire career. So while I do appreciate what you're saying, and I do agree that there is always some of that, what are we actually taking from our population? But I have to say that I'm with Jackie on this one, because when you look at the actual data, again, I've been lab testing for most of my career. And I read that nerdy stuff about regulation and the lab results that are coming out of studies on up to 30 different cannabis CBD products, 30 different companies. And when they come out with those lab results for potency on what's on that bottle, what you think you're buying, that's 1,000 milligrams, and they test it, it's actually, some of it doesn't have any in it. Some of it, they're substituting melatonin to put you to sleep, but that's not on the bottle. So it comes back to our physicians aren't educated. Our FDA has not put in regulations on this stuff yet. They have taken the approach of, last couple months, they've been taking public commentary. They've put all the public commentary together. This is national and international public commentary. Anyone could go to Washington, D.C. and get in that room and speak their piece. And they took that information and came up with a temporary plan. Cannabidiol, being an Epidiolex, is how pharmaceuticals make their money. It's patenting a chemical compound in the formulation that they made it to treat something, and that's how they patent their product. On the other hand, it becomes that cannabidiol is now registered under the federal government as a chemical compound that is a drug product. They've never had a drug product that was in food before. It doesn't mean they aren't going to address that down the line, but at this point, they've never had to deal with it. So again, you've mentioned it, government is slow. So in the meantime, it's be a vigilant consumer. If your products are not lab tested and lab tested by an ISO accredited lab, that's another thing. Our labs are they're not reliable. You have to do your due diligence on what lab they are using. These are all things that, again, the FDA is going to take control of it. That's why Curaleaf got those letters. They're starting with false claims. Eventually, they're going to come up with an entire team that does, quality inspections just like they do for pharmaceuticals and food and beverage and big ag. All of these products that we have in front of us at the store every day, they go through these processes. This will happen for CBD. When it goes federally legal for cannabis, it will happen for cannabis.
But I'm not talking about, I love the idea of testing. I want everything labeled to the highest degree and tested for purity. Something that's terrible with CBD actually is they use it for soil remediation. So they actually use it to get toxins out of soil. Places where there's been nuclear disasters, they grow hemp, then they extract it and they sell that poisonous contaminated CBD to consumers. And you can wonder, why is a kilo $8,000 here and $15,000 there? Well, where'd that hemp come from? So no, I thoroughly support labeling. What I'm talking about is if every single business here tonight goes under. Isn't that a travesty if we put this all in the hands of Big Pharma? And Epidiolex is your only solution, and they will not let anyone else sell it. I do want the people who sell it to get that certificate of analysis and to sell I want you to all the purest medicine possible, but I don't want it to only be sold. The government has held the patent since 2003. 16 years they've known CBD is effective as an antioxidant and a neuroprotectant, but they want to make the money off it.
I think
Well-
when we, oh,
I was just going to say, and there's also National Institute of Health studies that say that if you take too much CBD, you could be having significant damage to your liver.
4.5 mice died.
Yeah.
They had 6 mice, and they said 75% of the mice died. That's
Big-
4.5 mice.
Yeah. But again, we don't know enough. I know. I'm not trying to go back and forth.
we
I totally support, and people
I love
should
her,
be
by the way.
able.
It's not-
People should be able to, take control of their own health. But again, it's be vigilant until they've created these processes to ensure that you go to a physician before you take this stuff. If you're taking other medication, that's the best advice I could give you.
Well, it's challenging also because the doctors are not that versed. So it's a very
There's a lot of resources, as far as physicians. I mean, thehealer.com is one. I could go on and on. There's a lot of resources out there to be able to, again, it might not be covered by your insurance, but there are resources out there to talk to physicians who are educated. It just takes a little bit of digging.
Yeah, no, and we are always here for you whenever you have any questions, all of us collectively, everybody in this room, all the brands that are here. Canna Care Docs is here as well to help you navigate more about medical marijuana and how to guide that process if that's something you want to explore when it comes to medical cannabis. But then, ingredient for ingredient matters. I know we have vetted as best possible to have high quality brands here. So ingredients matter from farm to body, from seed to sale. So those are the kind of things, the conversation, listen, it excites me when the four of them, can contribute to the conversation because we need to give voice to this. That's all, because it's what do you want, and I really do believe is it a natural alternative, plant-based healing therapy, and if you do it right, you really can feel a hell of a lot better. So with that said, I think we talked a little bit, but Jenny, just piggybacking that, Jenny, excuse me, talk a little bit about we talked a little bit about consumer safety, but, what should they look for, to ensure that the CBD they buy is high quality, and to trust it, because, can you overdose? Are there any negative side effects?
Of course. With any substance, most substances, besides air and water, I would think, can cause some form of, adverse effect. But, again, it's like I said before, lab testing is number one. You do not want to end up with bioremediated product going into your system with a ton of heavy metals or pesticides, especially if you're trying to get well.
And wait, and that's why, just please, be open, be aware of where you're buying your CBD. Because we shouldn't be buying it at the gas station or the 7-Eleven,
Yes.
or, I'm not...
Yeah, if the person you are buying that product from cannot tell you where they sourced what's in that product, you mentioned it, what farm did that product come from? Where is the hemp sourced? Where is the cannabis sourced? Again, I've been doing this for pharma. It's every ingredient that goes into that final product you need to be testing. If it comes with the C of A from somewhere, you can't just trust that C of A that your coconut oil is perfectly clean. You have to then double check that by going to an ISO certified lab and confirming that C of A is valid. These are the things that you need to do your due diligence. That's the best advice I could give you, and especially if you are on other medication. There are adverse effects. There are reports into the federal government, the state governments in medical cannabis states that they are having reports of adverse effects, and there isn't the FDA to, or the companies that have, the pharmaceutical background to have a full team in place to address adverse effects. Some of these companies don't even think of that part of this. So until we get to the next level of, these, the requirements and standards, it's doing it for ourselves. Yeah.
So, let's see. Okay, so, Jess, what does a regulated recreational market look like?
Sure. So I guess those are two different questions from a federal and a state standpoint. But right now, we're really seeing unprecedented progress happening at the federal level, so much so that this speculation that I'm talking about right now should become reality quite soon. And as Tara mentioned before, a report came out that New Jersey will be reviving the adult use bill. And so what we will see is, if the adult use bill does move forward, is we're going to see a very huge surge in a lot of cannabis operations, which in turn will lead to a lot of ancillary companies also surging as well. And by that, I mean accounting, legal, security, technology, basically any other service that is currently providing support to the plant touching industry will also grow as well. And once I was talking about before, with the job creation, the taxes that will also be able to be used to be reinvested into the community as well. At a federal level, what we're going to see probably with a regulated industry may not be the best of news for a lot of the smaller, more emerging companies. What's going to happen is you're probably going to have about 5 to 10 very large companies who are going to have a huge stake in the cannabis industry that have already been established. So when we're talking about the pros and the cons is really, well, it depends on who you're talking, very lawyerly responsive. It depends on who you're talking to. So if you're talking to a very large company, well then to them, once the prohibition has been lifted, well, they're on their way to greener pastures. As opposed to a smaller company, that really may not have the resources to continue. The cannabis game is a long game. Anybody who's really in it for the short term is not going to last. This is an industry that is just emerging, especially on the East Coast. So if you're looking for this for a very quick return, that's not going to happen. So it's really going to be kind of a survivor type of game of who can last, because it is so capital intensive. And as an attorney who's working in this space, I get a lot of questions and we get a lot of inquiries by folks who are like, I want to apply for a dispensary because it sounds really sexy and it sounds really cool. And once I give them the gist of what exactly they're looking at, they're very surprised, right? And I tell them, I'm like, especially for this round in the applications, I'm like, all right, experience. And they're like, well, how am I supposed to have experience? It's kind of one of those like catch-22s where you graduate college and they're like, you need 5 years of experience for this job. And you're like, well, how can I possibly get it if I just graduated college, right? So a lot of these larger players will be involved. However, this is really going to be who can last the longest in this game. And a regulated industry federally is really going to open up the doors, because right now, cannabis companies do not have the access to the capital that they need, and that's really one of the larger barriers. A lot of banks will not bank with them. We got BCB here, so shout out to y'all for banking with cannabis and CBD companies. But that's really a very large barrier with a lot of our clients, is where do you get the funding from? And so you have to really go towards more private investors and have to look. And unless you come from a family that has $1 million, or you have a rich uncle that can really just invest into your industry and into your company, it is going to be quite difficult. But a regulated industry, as Jenny was talking about, we'll see testing. We're going to see consistency in the products. And I've been on panels before where people do not want regulation, and I've questioned them as to really what exactly is the issue with it, because as of right now, you're just letting the illicit market just grow and grow and grow. And a regulated market will not delete the illicit market. The illicit market will most likely remain strong. Will remain strong, especially given the taxes, right? Because if you're going to go to a dispensary and you're going to pay, a tax depending on what it is, let's say, 3%. Well, you might want to just go to your man down the street and get it, without the tax. But you're going to be getting a product that has been tested, has been vetted, has gone through the process where you can track from the seed to sale. So really what you're going to get a lot of a regulated industry is consistency in the product that you're consuming.
Thank you. So
But also how it's going to make you feel after you take it.
yes, go ahead.
Well, and I think what you're hitting on is something that so many companies are striving for. And 1906 in particular, fun fact, the reason we're called 1906 is that was the year of the Wiley Act that effectively created prohibition. And our mission is to return to a time without prohibition on cannabis. But this idea that
Can you just tell
have-
everyone, I mean, I
Sure.
really, because we're only going to be another
Sure.
6 or 7 minutes.
Yeah.
But can you just quickly tell everybody, you know, just why there was prohibition? Because I don't know if everyone knows why it was banned in the first place. What, Jess, did you want to? I mean, just like in a quick 30 seconds to 60 seconds of why it was prohibited. Like, because I've read why. I don't want to say why. I know why.
A very, very racist agenda.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Fine.
If you haven't,
Fine. No. I mean,
if you haven't invested the hour and a half, and I'm not branded by them by any means, but The Grass is Greener on Netflix, it is well worth the hour and a half time to dive into, especially in the late 60s and 70s, the racist undertones that were happening in this country. That really, between crack, cocaine, heroin, marijuana, all of it, it's disgusting. But so what I was getting to though is this idea that if we can move away from cannabis as just people chasing a THC high and start to see cannabis for what it is, which is medicine. And I know a lot of people here today are here to talk about CBD, and that is part of that. But there is an inherent gift that we are looking at here when we talk about low dose THC in people's lives. And so as we get into a more regulated market, you will see a diversification of products, and you'll see companies, I hope we have more competitors with what we do at 1906, because what we're offering is very low dose THC for very specific experiences. So if you have social anxiety, we have something for that. If you have trouble sleeping, we have something for that. As opposed to walking into a shop or walking to your guy down the street to save your 3% and just getting some bud and like going about your day, right? Like that's not consistency, that's not medicine, that's not changing your life, that's getting high. And I'm not knocking that. People want to do that, that's fine. But if we want to treat this like medicine, we have to treat it like medicine, and that's consistency. You can buy Advil in Wisconsin, and you can buy Advil here in New Jersey, you can buy Advil in California, and you're going to have the exact same experience with that Advil in all 3 states. That's where I want to see cannabis in the next 5 to 10 years.
I really hope to be your competitor. I just need a license.
So, frankly, so do I. So I don't have one either.
listen, you ladies are rock stars. Okay, so we're going to get to our last question. I'm just going to, I mean, anyone who knows me, most of you don't, but now you do, is that, and I encourage you to follow me on Facebook, Holli Williams Ehrlich, Holli with an I. And, but I look up as my husband's, you know, shaking his head, right? Like SMH. So, TMI, SMH. Does any of you know what SLAP means? If anyone knows what SLAP means, you get a mood mat. Okay, you're gonna have to come see me later because I'm not telling you. Okay, no one ever knows that one. I don't understand it. Okay, maybe I'll tell you. Okay, so listen to this. I like looking up. I love these factoids, and I read this and I had so much fun. Consider this: for many years, state lotteries were frowned upon, and only one state, New Hampshire, had a state lottery. One by one, states began to offer lotteries as they discovered the tremendous source of revenue that lottery programs had to offer. Despite the objections of critics who saw gambling as the first step on the road to moral degradation, income from lotteries and the use of those funds to support beneficial programs such as school funding, environmental assistance programs, or crime control won out. So I think this is not that different, okay, when it comes to fighting for cannabis as medicine. So, you know, because it is a Schedule I drug, cannabis, and that is the same thing. It's like saying, goodness, right, heroin and LSD and I don't know. And there are more prescription opioid deaths, and that's, I know, a whole other topic. So I'm just going to go the last one because all I know is that we focus on cannabis as medicine for health and wellness, self-care, caregiving, fitness, for you to impact people's lives. And everybody in this room, it is about CBD, but CBD is just one cannabinoid of the plant. THC is another. There are over 100 cannabinoids in the plant. I have learned so much. It is so cool. There is something, you talk to the brands, you talk to them about broad spectrum, full spectrum, isolate. You can talk to anyone here and they probably can tell you about those things and that are part of the plant that will actually, you know, make a difference. So the last question, and I'm going to ask so then everyone we can go back, we have some entertainment, more sampling, shopping, experiencing. Last question, okay, and actually Jackie, I'm going to start with you because you actually said this before we started the talk. Are there any misconceptions you'd like to clear up regarding CBD?
I have like a million.
Okay, so let's give me your top one or two, because then we're gonna, thank you.
Sure. So I think the biggest misconception I have is that cannabis and CBD is one size fits all for everybody. I think it is really important for you to do your own research. I think it's important to educate your physician about what you're doing and what you're choosing to put in your body. There are so many stories of so many people that have had adverse events because they were basically told what to do and didn't question. I encourage you all to question what you're putting in your body and what you're consuming, and to be sort of very informed and sort of pesky consumers. No one should hide from you as a company what is in their product, and they should be really eager to show you and tell you milligram for milligram what is in it. That's the kind of stuff that I would encourage you all to do, because it's not one size fits all. Every product isn't exactly the same. So do your research. And this might sound silly, but keep a little journal, keep a little notebook of your experiences and the products that you're using, and you might be able to find interesting trends, especially when you start getting into the cannabis space.
And just so you know, when it comes to dosing and delivery methods, okay, and we've heard, and many may or may not have heard, go low and slow, okay, everybody out there, they can guide you on that, okay, when it comes to how to, for you. Each of you is unique, and there's not, like you said, one size fits all. Jess, any misconceptions?
So misconceptions, I'm not sure. So we got the science folks up here. So I'll actually talk about it from the perspective of if you want to put out your own CBD line, or if you currently are, compliance is key. And as we were talking about here with the FDA, I know you got, like, you know, Big Brother, FDA, you know, that whole shadow looking over you. But it is quite important, especially if you're going to be investing a lot of your time and energy into creating a product of your own. I would really highly suggest, you know, looking at, there currently are not really so many regulations out there, and as an attorney, I like regulations, the same thing as Jackie. I like to know what we can and cannot do. It's best to advise clients. Right now, we're almost kind of flying blind and just kind of seeing what other states are doing. But if you are going to be creating your own product and really investing in your own business, then please take the time to review any sort of regulations that are out there, and also consult with an attorney if you are going to be moving forward. Just because, you know, you don't really want to be messing around with the FDA or any sort of other regulatory body. You really, if you want a successful product, one that's really going to, you know, help folks in the end, you really want to stay as compliant as possible.
I think the most important that Jackie touched on before, we are a very CBD-focused event here, and that is a starting point for many people transitioning into using this type of medicine. But I encourage you, do not be afraid of THC, and do not be afraid of the whole plant and using everything that is extracted from it and put into your body. I've seen personally many success stories, personally with a very, you know, close friend of mine's father, 96 years old, and at that point deteriorating very significantly. And, you know, this man had never taken cannabis in his life. And at this point, very, very low dose, started 5 milligrams, completely changed this man's life. And again, never tried it before. If you told him what it was, he probably would have had a meltdown. But he had no idea what it was. He took a little candy, life-changing for not just his caretakers, but and his family, his wife, who's also still alive at 92 years old. You know, she was crying before he started taking this. So again, if your physicians, you know, if they don't know, find one who does, and please don't be afraid of the full plant.
I'm gonna jump on the bandwagon and agree with Jackie as well. A meme I saw, which I absolutely loved, said, I can't be all things to all people. I'm not CBD. So, but it's true. Like, it's like this old medicine show where it just cures everything. And obviously that's not the case. There was a case down in Florida where a little boy had leukemia, and his parents turned down chemotherapy and decided to treat solely with medical marijuana. And things like that is when I say, all right, we have to pull back the reins here. It's not a magical pill. But at the same time, something the FDA is now talking about taking out dog treats. And my dog is very young. I don't have this as a personal experience, but I've had so many people come up to me and say, my dog could barely move around to get to its food bowl. I gave it CBD and now it can go up the stairs. So don't use it as a first line when it's something serious and there's Western medicine. But if something works for you and you, like, you know, I think you're a terrible example of calm, but...
I didn't say, I'm not an example. You know, I do have a few friends. Wait. Without this. I do not profess to be calm. I am telling you that my CBD offers me some calm. But thank you. I love you. I know, but I love that you did that. So, and by the way, I think that CBD plus THC, which is known as the entourage effect, I've learned so much terminology, and I encourage you. I actually have a few answers myself, but I'm not the focus today. These 4 women are awesome. You know what?
To your defense, you did not take it today.
What didn't I take? Oh, I took CBD, but I haven't in many hours because I've been focusing on this. But the thing is, because I would like to take some more breaks, and I will post this event. But with that said, it gets me, it offers me what Holly needs. But I have to say thank you. I cannot win. So just so you know, you do, baby. So I thank Tara, Jenny, Jess, and Jackie for taking the time. I hope we added value to your lives, to your day, to educate you. We thank BCB Bank so much to make this talk possible in this fabulous at 18 Label Studios in a space, because we listen to you. Your feedback matters because we've had a number of events and we want you to be able to focus and to learn. So they're going to stick around to answer some of your questions. Please go back, and we also have some entertainment, some acro yoga and some other things. So.
And how about a hand for Holly? Did she do a great job? She just continuously amazes me. So thank you to all of our panelists, and thank you to Holly for putting this together. And thank all of you for coming. And we have much more fun out there, and the ice cream truck is here. And it stopped raining. So you can head out there, and we're coming up. Go ahead, Jess.
Hold on, is this working? Oh,
Yeah.
I'd also like to say thank you to Holly and Rob for putting this panel together. You do not see many all-female panels, so this is actually absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you.